Good morning and welcome to a beautifully sunny Circuit Ricardo Tormo for the second of the two races, the Formula Regional European by Alpine, organised by ACI Sport. And we had two Spanish drivers on the podium yesterday, David Vidales and Mari Boya, and another Spanish-speaking driver from Buenos Aires, that was Franco Colopinto, who topped the pile. Will they be the top three again today? Beautiful conditions, as you can see, nearly 19 degrees track temperature and rising all of the time. Humidity lower than yesterday, much more comfortable. But really, the big question this morning is, can the runaway championship leader Gregoire Saucy find his mojo again? It just wasn't working for him yesterday. Had a problem with his car in qualifying, started 10th rather than his traditional front row position, and actually ended up out of the points. He's still sitting on a 71-point margin over Hadjian David, but he's got to find his mojo, got to get back in the groove. Or will it be Colopinto again, who's really the driver with his tail up at the moment? He's been first to checkered flag in the last three events. The middle one of those, he then had moved back to fourth place overall for track limit infringement. But the Argentinian is the man on form at the top of this pile of 34 cars. Gabriel Bortoleto from Brazil was one of the drivers that shone in yesterday's race, ended up at the bottom end of the top 10. But it was very, very difficult to overtake, so qualifying is going to be absolutely vital today. Zane Maloney was a driver who didn't quite string it together in qualifying, but his pace was there. We saw individual fastest sector times, but he needs to strike back. He's sitting third in the championship, but yesterday wasn't his greatest day, the driver from Barbados. Gentle breeze over the circuit, that's going to be welcome. It's going to be a very hot day here just outside the city of Valencia. This track, tight, twisty, turning, 4 kilometres, squeezed into a remarkably compact spot, but 14 corners around the course of that lap. Lena Buller, one of two female racing drivers in the event. Belén Garcia, the Spanish female racer, was back in the championship as well, and they finished very close to each other on the track. But unfortunately for them, at the tail end of the field rather than where they would hope to be going. But really all eyes on Franco Colopinto. He really was the star yesterday. Took pole position only by a tiny margin from David Vidales, and then resisted the Spanish attack throughout the distance of the race. Every time Vidales got close, it seemed the question was answered instantly. But Gregoire Saucy, he is the driver who could do no wrong in this championship, and yesterday he pulled in during qualifying, wasn't happy with his car, went out and just squeaked into 10th place, but it's difficult from there. Emilio Pesce looking cool and calm, waiting to get going. 20 minutes of qualifying coming up. They'll be out on the track just over a minute from now. Gabriele Mini, one of the drivers in the top 10, ranked 6th overall, so that Italian racer has high hopes today. Majority of these drivers aged 16, 17, 18. If you've got to 20, frankly, you're getting a bit long in the tooth. But Formula Regional European, it's a championship that started in 2019. It grew in 2020, and it's absolutely blossomed in 2021. A lot of Finnish drivers attracted to this championship. Patrick Pasma is one of those, and he didn't enjoy the greatest race yesterday. He ended up starting way behind all the others and ended up bottom of the pile, but he's way, way better than that. Belén Garcia, I said there were two female racers. Here is the second one. Did a bit of a part season and has returned after several races away and looking to rediscover form. And if you're going to do it on home ground in Spain. Why not? So 20 minutes of qualifying. What we saw yesterday, again, their qualifying was about this time of day. Track conditions were cool. Today it seems a little bit warmer. And it takes a couple of laps to get heat in the tyres. You don't go out and do an out lap and then a flying lap. It does seem you needed to do an extra run around the block. Paul Aron, racer down from another driver from the Baltic Sea, from Estonia, sitting second in the championship. Fourth in the championship, has yet to win a round, but consistent scores have been the story of Paul Aron's year. So, cars on the track, 20 minutes to play. This is the rise out of turn 1, enormous gravel trap on the outside there, up to turn 2. Along with turn 6, this is the highest point on the circuit. And as you can see, the track curls around to the left, no heat in those tyres whatsoever, so four-wheel drift down through a kink. That's the exit of turn 2, then it's a kink as you run down the slope to turn 4 at the bottom, turn 5, so you're running past parallel with the pit lane, then you make your way up the slope to turn 6. Turn 6, again, the highest point on the circuit. This is Russian racer Michael Belloff, who's had some good results in the latter half of the season, picking up a win at Spa-Francorchamps. Anyone who wins at Spa-Francorchamps can hold their head high. So really not many takers at all. The track is all yours, but as I pointed out, it's not as though when he's going to be flying past the pits to start his second lap that it's likely to be a lap that really counts, because it does seem you need to do 2 laps of getting heat into your tyres. Car 43, well, that's Franco Colopinto, who's been in and out of this championship, but the 17-year-old Argentinian has also been racing in the European Le Mans Series with great success, and the Asian Le Mans Series, so P2 sports cars part of this teenager's repertoire as well, and very much a person on the go. 2 wins in Austria. 1 was moved back to 4th place with track limits infringements. Wasn't alone in that. A whole host of drivers got pinged for that, and track limit infringements have been a real feature of play here as well. The drivers have to learn. If you go out onto beyond the white line at the edge of the circuit, that's all right with 2 wheels. It's okay with 4 if you're just on the red and white lines beyond. But if you go on the green here at the Circuit Ricardo Tormo, that's the painted area beyond, all 4 wheels on that, and you're going to lose your lap time. And they have to learn by doing it. The curves are very flat because largely it's a motorcycle circuit. You don't want those jagged curves, so it is easy to slide on over the top. You can see the green painted strips around the outside of the circuit. 4 wheels on that, and then you're going to have your best laps taken away. Turn 14 is another corner where the drivers have been transgressing. I mean, those tyre marks that tell the story that you need to know. Stickered tyres on the cars, so clearly going to throw everything at qualifying. And I just can't get over how busy this field are. That's Mari Boyer, who was 3rd yesterday, his best result of the season. Top rookie in yesterday's race. I mean, in many ways, almost all of these seems like rookies, because this is their first racing season, some it's their second. But when I say racing, of course, I mean car racing. They have rich, illustrious kart racing histories behind them. So a lot of these drivers have been rivals for 3, 4, 5 years through the Junior European and World OK Junior Series in particular has been their happy stamping ground. But now they're all united in identical tattooous chassis. Now this is a driver, in fact the corner at the background, corner turn 1, is where this driver ended his qualifying session yesterday. Nico Gola ended up having to start stone last, so looking for a better run today. Keep it on the island. Not 1 flying lap has been recorded as a number of the drivers now pouring out of the pit lane. A few who've been out have come back in. So waiting for a sensible flying lap to be put on the board. I expect in the next few minutes we'll find out what sort of pace they can manage. Yesterday the best lap was 1 minute 28.769 seconds set by the flying Franco Colopinto. So let's see what we can do today. There was rain overnight, electrical storms over Valencia, and perhaps that's cleaned the circuit up a little bit. They probably wanted the rubber still to be there, but yesterday the drivers found in both these cars and the big GT cars, the GT World Challenge, they found the circuit really rather slippery. Not visually apparent, but really what we see, the drivers do leave a lot of tyre debris on this circuit, and certainly you will see it through the course of the day lying outside the curbing on the outside, and so you go over the curbing and you pick up even less grip when you've transgressed. So the fastest time so far is Nico Gola, the driver who fell off yesterday, but with the best lap of 3 minutes 52, you can see nothing serious has been put on the board. So it seems a frustrating game waiting for these tyres to get up to temperature, but the drivers all have to learn how to get the best out of their rubber. It's all part of the learning process. And yesterday's qualifying session was interrupted in the middle by Nico Gola being off at turn 1. This one, hopefully they'll have the full 20 minutes without interruption. They can work through their program. You can still see drivers coming down the sloping start-finish straight, trying to get some heat into their tyres. Which is going to be the first driver to show their hand? Jasin Ferrati. Looks got some purple times across the screen, but until it does seem as though it's just a sighting lap for all of them. But we'll suddenly see a change in manner, a change of approach, and we'll see drivers starting to attack and really put a sensible time on the board. It really, really is a waiting game. Just to reiterate, the fastest time yesterday, 3 drivers under 1 minute 29, 1 minute 28.769 seconds for Franco Colopinto. So we've already burnt up 6 minutes this 20-minute qualifying session, which means it becomes super, super tight. Go round several times, get the heat in the tyres, and then attack. And do not transgress, do not go over the curbing on the outside of the circuit. Because a whole host of drivers started to lose their times. Right, we have a time on the board. Nicola Marinangeli, he's been a driver traditionally at the tail end of the field thus far in the championship. 1 minute 39.6, so that's 10 seconds and more, nearly 11 seconds down on Franco Colopinto's best from yesterday. Starting to see a few drivers not weaving down the start-finish straight. Therefore, we're going to see some quicker times coming in. Alexandre Bardinov, number 9, straight down the middle of the circuit there. I really rather like that colour scheme with the blue, the gold and the red, and that is top for now. Sorry, that is second for now. Still Nicola Marinangeli at the top of the table. Who is going to make a move? Which of the top runners? It seems the 4 drivers at the top of the table are the drivers traditionally towards the end of the pack this year. Nicola Marinangeli, Jasin Ferrati, Nico Gola and Alexandre Bardinov. But any moment now, one of the top runners is going to put the time in. Weaving away down the start-finish straight, it certainly isn't going to be Franco Colopinto. He's still putting heat into his tyres, working them. It must be frustrating, but they've got to start to feel the grip coming beneath them. Still Nicola Marinangeli by a big margin, by 3 seconds at the top. Next time around, it might be, so you do several laps that don't really count, then you do 2, 3 flying laps, and then the times will start to come. Brazilian racer Gianluca Petikov to the top of the table by a tiny, tiny margin, but again with a time that will easily be deposed once they've got the heat into the rubber. Mari Boyer, 3rd overall yesterday, goes top. Angelo Rosso deposes them, but they're all on almost identical times, 1 minute 39s. And the best time in yesterday's race was by the race winner Franco Colopinto, 1 minute 30.2, so they're way, way down, even on race pace at the moment. It shows how the rubber must have been absolutely blasted off the track by the rain last night when the storms came. So they're looking for grip, trying to find it, trying to find heat in their tyres. Hadrian David goes to the top. Suddenly we're into the 1 minute 37s. It's still way off a race pace. It's way off a qualifying pace, but Hadrian David, young French racer, starting to show his form. Zane Maloney, he was quick in qualifying yesterday in parts. So Nicola Marinangeli starting to wind it up. He's one of the first drivers to put a time on the board, so he's further into his process, and suddenly, look, the times are really starting to come. 2 seconds down on anybody in the first sector. So the Italian racer driving for Arden Motorsport, putting the car through its paces properly. Let's see what the middle sector, the 3 sector of the circuit. Turn 8, he's got to get to the exit of turn 11. So here we go, through the flick at 9, the flick at 10, and then into the right hand hairpin at 11. Second timing interval just being crossed now. Okay, big improvement on that as well. So we'll start to, it really is extraordinary to see how long it takes these drivers to get the heat into the rubber, but it's a process they need to go through. But Nicola Marinangeli will go to the top of the tail. Oh, well, he would, except he's suddenly come across a whole train of cars going nowhere fast. Is there a waved yellow flag there? I can't see one. Car 9, driver of car 9 has been warned for track limits. That's Alexandre Bardinov. So we don't get to see that lap added together. I don't really understand why he didn't go past the others in front of him who were still just going slowly to get heat in their rubber. But Nicola Marinangeli will have to do it all over again. So at the moment, it's a bit like a game of chess. Looking for space on the track, looking for heat in their tyres, looking for some mojo. I've never really come across a championship where they've had to work so hard to warm their tyres up. Certainly a warmer day would have helped them, but it's getting warmer all the time. So if it ends like this, Hadrian David will be at the top of the pile, and the driver who's sitting second in the championship will take that pole position. Thank you very much indeed. But you know what? Who's got clear space around them? Well, Franco Colopinto, the man of the moment, the Argentinian racer for MP Motorsport. What sort of lap can he put together? Okay, there's a car a little distance ahead of him. That's the number 6 entry. That shouldn't trouble him too much. He's out Kaja, far enough away in front of him. But even on these laps, you can still see Franco Colopinto weaving around, even on the run through that kink, out of turn 6, through the kink at 7, down to turn 8. But the good thing about him, he's got the angle into turn 8. Such a tricky corner. Many drivers just find the front of their car washes away on that downhill left-hander. new name at the top by a couple of seconds, Lorenzo Fluxa, and then suddenly Mari Boya goes tops, then the Brazilian Gabriel Bortoleto. Now we're down to 1 minute 30.5. These are getting towards sensible times, and Hadrian David looks like he's going to go to the top of the pile when he crosses the start-finish line. Car number 10 waiting for the time. Yes, he goes to the top. Hadrian David 9/10 of a second clear, 1 minute 29.6. This is a proper pace. They've used their patience, they've found the track space. Hadrian David, Zane Maloney, the driver from Barbados, goes into second place. He's nearly 4/10 of a second in arrears, just ahead of Isaac Hadja. Gabriel Bortoleto is fourth. The drivers have got so close to each other, they're just trying to make space. They slow right down at turn 13 out of this 14-turn circuit. Confident they've got heat in their tyres, and then they attack through that final corner, down the start-finish straight. So Hadrian David, 1 minute 29.610 seconds, nearly 4/10 of a second faster than Zane Maloney. Where's Franco Colopinto? He's not at the top. He's down in 9th place overall in car 43. Gregoire Saucy, championship leader. Car number 26, he's down just outside the top 10. He ended up in 10th in qualifying yesterday, and that didn't work for him in the race. He ended up out of the points. Today looks a little bit better. Driver who hasn't really featured at the top end of the championship, worked his way up into 4th place. It suddenly goes down. It's Pietro Deleganti, son of Roberto, an Italian GT racer, so second-generation racer. Another second-generation racer, Eduardo Barrichello, up into 5th place, and then suddenly Nicola Marinangeli, the first driver out of the pits, he gets his way ahead of Barrichello up into 5th position overall. But it's still Hadrian David, car number 10. Looks like that time is going to be deposed by this man, Gregoire Saucy, championship leader. His car felt wrong yesterday. He was convinced the steering wheel wasn't straight when the car was sitting with its wheels in a straight line. Wasn't a comfortable feeling, and he had his mojo taken away from him. But right now, it looks like he's going to reapply it. He's sitting 17th on the table. Surely won't be staying there with that lap time. Waiting for that to go on the board. Second fastest. That is more like it. Just in behind, just under a 10th of a second down on Hadrian David. 6.5 minutes remain, and Dino Beganovic, the Swedish racer, looks so he might put in a very quick time for the Prema Power team. Listed as 32nd of the runners, but that surely will improve. Yes, it does. He's taken the 30th place, just 30 places off that to improve to 2nd place overall. Michael Belloff goes to the top, so Russian racer, 1 minute 29.372. That's just around half a second down on yesterday's best. Still looking to see where Colopinto is. Franco Colopinto, yesterday's runaway pole starter, down in 21st position. Here he is on screen, car number 43. Skirting with track limits. I think he just about kept his right-hand wheels on the inside line there. Up through turn 12, difficult corner, so easy to run deep into the corner. Then you struggle to get out of that right flick into the long left at turn 13. Turns down to a tighter downhill approach into turn 14, yet tidy within the limits there. He's improving, but that's not going to be enough to go to the top. That target time, 1 minute 29.3, surely beyond him. 1 minute, oh, it isn't, I beg his pardon, so 1 minute 29.2. Franco Colopinto, yesterday pole starter, at the front again. But this session's still got time. 5 minutes and 20 seconds remain. Michael Belloff, he was on pole position. He's been pushed back to 2nd place. Oh, by the skin of the paint on the outside of his tyre wall. He just about didn't exceed that final corner. Does he improve? He goes up to 2nd. Gregoire Saucy had fleetingly got into 2nd, the championship leader. He's now been pushed back down by Belloff. So it's Colopinto, Belloff and Saucy. Isaac Hadja, David Vidal is yesterday's 2nd place runner, and Gabriele Mini. They are the top 6. Looking for quick times coming further down the board. Now the quick times are across the timing screen with those top half dozen runners. That's why they're at the top. Quickly scrolling down the screen to see if anybody is missing from action who went well yesterday. David Vidales is in 5th. He finished 2nd yesterday. Mari Boya finished 3rd yesterday, is in 8th. But right now, the driver who's the top rookie, it was Boya yesterday, but today it's Isaac Hadja. He's 4th on the grid at the moment, the French racer. 1 minute 29.2. That is a big difference yesterday. It's half a second down on yesterday's best by the same driver from Franco Colopinto. So track conditions clearly not as good. The rain last night would have washed all the rubber off. So Hadrian David fifth fastest. Small improvement, needs a few more thousandths. We'll get ahead of compatriot, fellow French racer Isaac Hadja, but at the moment it's Colopinto, Belloff and Saucy at the top of the table. Making space to put your laps in, quite a tricky element here, and Patrick Pasma getting towards the end of the lap. He's got car just a little bit close in front of him. He's going around the outside of turn 13. The car in front is cruising in. That was number 27, who then just moved across his path. So you can see how easy it is to get blocked by a driver who's thinking about a fast lap the next time around. But Patrick Pasma, we're getting a bit of a tow down the start-finish straight, but not likely to go vaulting enormously up the order. Nope, stayed down in 24th position. 34 runners, though. And of those runners, 19 covered by just 1 second, in fact not even a second. And it shows how fast the times change. We saw Eduardo Barrichello fleetingly up in 5th place overall. He's down in 21st as others have improved. He hasn't managed it yet. This lap might be, no, but his middle sector was poor, so that's not going to be an improvement at all. Just 14 1,000ths of a second between the two fastest drivers, Franco Colopinto and the chasing Russian Michael Belloff. Gregor Saucy, championship leader, a little bit frustrated in 3rd place overall, but Belloff keeps on chipping away. His first sector is faster than anybody's. Isaac Hadja pulling out of that lap, waiting, he's biding his time, looking for track space. Michael Belloff, there we are, nearly a quarter of a second down in the first sector alone. Neat and tidy at the moment out of turn 11. Takes the widest line possible into the flick at 12. Doesn't use the curbs too much. That's good, that's clever, and he's improving on that. And at this rate, well, he's only down by 14 thousandths of a second. He could get down into the 1 minute 28, and that could suddenly be a really serious lap. Aiming at pole position, just stays within track limits at turn 14. Down the start-finish straight he goes. At the moment, it's Saucy, championship leader, has just flashed to the top. 1 minute 29.1, but that's not enough because we're into the 1 minute 28. It's Michael Belloff. Doesn't just fight back, he goes way better. He's cleared by precisely a quarter of a second. So Belloff, Saucy, Colopinto. What Colopinto going to do in terms of fighting back? He's had a good first sector. I wouldn't suggest enough to go to the top of the table. Isaac Hadja also putting a good first sector in, but that run from Belloff, he was fastest in all 3 of the sectors. So really, really good run from him. Belloff for G4 Racing finished 5th yesterday. Started 4th, finished 5th, but today, you must say, with just over a minute remaining in this session, he's looking pretty good on pole position. And now with the fastest drivers going faster, still Franco Colopinto, he's eking everything he can out of his car. At the moment, he's down by just over a third of a second. If this lap continues like that, he should get onto the front row, should depose Grégoire Saucy. Let's see, the target time 1 minute 28.890. I think he's going to go into 2nd place. Let's take a look. Up into 2nd place he goes, 1 minute 29.092. So he's closing and he's down on his best yesterday, but today the best is Michael Belloff. And this lap from Gregor Saucy, championship leader, not good. Maybe he's trying to find space in the traffic. Every time you look up, you can see there is traffic absolutely everywhere. But I must say, at this point, one would just really feel, yes, I know they're waiting to get a quick run by slowing down and then accelerating through turn 14, but it blocks those who are trying to finish a lap, not trying to start one. So very, very frustrating. Colopinto goes into 2nd place. He does improve ahead of Grégoire Saucy. Saucy is not fighting back on this lap, but you know what, he's not the championship leader for nothing. And Dino Beganovic from absolutely nowhere goes into fourth place overall, but unfortunately there can be fallers as well. And number 9 off at the side of the circuit, Alexandre Bardinov for FA Racing, over and out, hasn't lost a lot of time because the checkered flag is out. Down into turn 1. It's showing all the sponsors' names with that quick flick, just went down the inside line, not a chance to get in the corner there, just got a bit confused in the traffic. So the checkered flag is out, and for Bardinov he's down in 26th position, and a little bit of frustration there, but it hasn't cost him a great deal of track time. So the flag is out. Michael Belloff at the top, just trying to see if anybody is still going to be able, well, there's a full course yellow now, so several cars have had their lap times deleted, but it's Belloff from Colopinto and Saucy. That's going to be a spicy race. And Dino Beganovic just came from nowhere for the Prema Power team, and his best result this season so far is a 4th place. He's qualified 4th, so the Swede looking good for enjoying the second of the 2 races here. But the job was done very well indeed by Michael Belloff to come out on top of the pile And again, super close, 0.2 of a second. In fact, at many points we were down in fractions, but Mikhail Belloff top of the table. Colopinto second, the gap between the 0.202 of a second. And championship leader Grégoire Saucy, yesterday he qualified only 10th and ended up out of the points. Today he's starting third, and you'd have to suspect he feels a whole lot better with that. And just to reiterate, you get 25 points for a win, and he's sitting on a 71-point margin. There are 2 more race meetings, so 4 more meetings after today. 2 more at Mugello, 2 more at Monza, so 5 places to go. Still 125 points to play for, but 71-point advantage for Grégoire Saucy. He's just got to keep his nose clean. Yesterday was an aberration, but today, this morning, it belongs to Mikhail Belloff, car number 30, and G4 Racing will be very pleased with him indeed. And you could see how hard the drivers had to work here. And the particular format of the circuit with that tight turn 13 leading into the final corner, having drivers bunching up, made it very difficult. A lot of drivers getting blocked there. But for the Formula Regional European Series, it was a tricky morning trying to get heat into the tyres. It required patience, it required precision. In the early days, it seemed nobody. I mean, these cars were lapping 10 seconds off their ultimate pace, but they had to stick with the programme. Get the heat in the tyre, don't go too hard too soon, wait for it. And we saw times absolutely tumbling. We saw Franco Colopinto, yesterday's winner, pushing hard. Hadrian David spent a time at the top of the table, but it was a waiting game for those final 3 minutes when things really started to change. Grégoire Saucy, championship leader in car number 26, working his way to the front, and others just trying to find space on the track, not running too wide. There we are, the final corner of the circuit, keeping it neat, keeping it tidy. And Mikhail Belloff, car number 30, pushing. He worked his way through the traffic. Franco Colopinto worked his way through the traffic. They worked through the heat cycle in the tyres, and then they started to come good. Mikhail Belloff went to the top. Grégoire Saucy went second, and then the championship leader was pushed back by yesterday's winner, Franco Colopinto. And then right at the end, Alexandre Bardinov, his final lap, just about to start it, and finished it at turn 1. But a nice session for Mikhail Belloff in particular. A pole position, well done to him. It's the best place to start this afternoon's race. So drivers learning a lot, and the driver who got it down onto the track the best was the Russian racer, Mikhail Belloff. And he ended up at the top of the table from Franco Colopinto, Grégoire Saucy, Isaac Hadjar, Hadrian David, and the Brazilian Gabriel Bortoleto. They were the top 6 runners for the qualifying for the second of the 2 Formula Regional Championship races here at the Circuit Ricardo Tormo at Valencia. The sun is shining, the track is gradually getting some grip. But it was a really technical session, and Mikhail Belloff, the Russian racer, was the driver who got it absolutely right. He was the one who nailed pole position. He's got the biggest smile.